One of the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic was that it laid bare the digital divide between Americans who have home access to high-speed internet and those who don't. And nowhere was that more clear than on rural tribal lands. FCC data from a couple of years ago shows that 99% of urban households could access a high-speed internet signal, compared to only 65% of households on tribal lands. So when the pandemic hit, it was especially hard on students who could no longer attend school, people with health conditions who couldn't visit their doctors. This is an issue that plagues all tribes, but especially tribes that are not federally recognized, including the Yamassee people of South Carolina, a rural corner where about 300 members of the Yamassee Nation live. But until recently, residential broadband was completely unavailable. I had a chance to speak to Sekou Hadjo, the chief of the Yamassee Nation, about the situation facing his people.
There is an ongoing need for tribes to have connectivity. When you're not a federally funded tribe, that is the challenge. Not to have a federal funding behind you because you're not, quote, identified as a federally recognized tribe.
There are about 1,500 Yamassee in 5 counties in South Carolina. The Yamassee themselves are not federally recognized, which brings an additional set of challenges because they don't have access to government assistance. As funding for broadband access on tribal lands was included in the government's pandemic response, the Yamassee didn't qualify. They used their own money to try to set up a connection between the town of Allendale and where they live, which is about 6 miles outside town. It was unsuccessful. The situation facing students, expectant mothers, and older folks who have health conditions was really exacerbated by the lack of broadband there. The story that I've been working on is about this sort of experimental program to bring broadband to Allendale, which is a majority-minority community where residential broadband was unavailable before. A group of private sector, public sector, education, business group folks all got together with a little extra leftover CARES Act money and said, let's try this new sort of system to bring public Wi-Fi and residential Wi-Fi to Allendale. Now, the unfortunate thing for the Yamassee is that the program, which was is now up and running and by all accounts working well, it doesn't reach out to where they live. Broadband on tribal lands is something that the Biden administration and Democrats in Congress are trying to prioritize in their infrastructure and jobs plan. There are also Republican bills that are aimed at expanding broadband on tribal lands. The folks who I spoke to who worked on this project really were stressing that this was sort of a experimental thing that, if successful, could be duplicated elsewhere. But when I spoke to Chief Hadjo, he was still a little skeptical. They had not found a way to make it reach far enough outside of town to reach where the Yamassee are living. Because the Yamassee lack that federal designation, they are likely to continue facing difficulties getting access to at-home internet speeds.